Yeah, that's supposed to be a white flag because we surrender. Okay, we'll move to Tuesday nights. Because yes, unless you haven't seen it somehow on the world of the internet and Twitter and all the rest of it, it is being heavily rumoured that NXT is set to move to Tuesday nights. The Wednesday night wars are apparently over, and you know what? Looks like we lost. But none of that matters right now because as of this moment, we are still Wednesday night NXT. This is still a Thursday, so we've got some stuff that we need to talk about. Because obviously this week we had the big old Women's Tag Team Championship match that I just could not wait for, and spoiler alert, it was pretty good. But I am Gareth from WhatCulture Wrestling. This is NXT Ups and Downs, so let's get to it. Kicking things straight off this week on NXT, we did have the NXT Tag Team Champions, Oney Lorcan and Danny Burch, and obviously coming into this, a lot of people were thinking, oh, we're going to get that big MSK match that they earned when they won the Dusty Cup. Well, the answer was no, because apparently Wesley is legitimately injured. He's hurt his hand. So instead of this, it was revealed that Tommaso Ciampa and Timothy Thatcher, they were going to step in and save the day. It wasn't going to be a title match, it was going to be non-title, but it was still pretty darn good. And straight away, this is just everything I love out of my wrestling. It was physical, it was hard hitting, it's obviously going to get an up because Timothy Thatcher has more control over people's limbs than I do my addiction to pizza. I have no control over it. I'm probably going to go and eat a pizza right after this. And it was just a battle of the brawlers. It was just punches to the face and knees to the face. It was grappling, it was ripping at limbs and all the rest of it. And then there was also a moment when Oney Lorcan just went out there and physically fish hooked Timothy Thatcher just blatantly in front of the ref. I was like, isn't that illegal? I'm sure they can't even do that in MMA. Probably shouldn't be able to do it in wrestling, but things just carried on. And then later in the match, it looked like Timothy Thatcher had seriously hurt his neck or his shoulder or something. His arm was like really stiff. He was like, ref, help. And then just later on, they kind of ignored it after the commercial break, and I was like, oh, okay, must be fine. But of course, absolutely none of that stuff mattered when we got to the closing stages of this match, because just when it was looking like Timothy Thatcher and Tommaso Ciampa were going to maybe, possibly pull off a great victory here against the NXT Tag Team Champions, Imperium showed up. And then obviously, because everybody in WWE is suddenly just enamored by somebody on the ramp whenever they're there, they're like, oh, look, something shiny. They got distracted. They lost the match to Danny Burch and Oney Lorcan when they did this like draping DDT thing. It was very good. It looked very impressive. They win. They still look strong. And Ciampa and Thatcher just look like they're in a weird position. Because later on in the night, it was explained that Thatcher felt like he was having his past rubbed in his face. And obviously, if you aren't fully aware of Thatcher's history with the people of Imperium, he was part of the Ring Kampf unit outside of WWE years and years and years ago. And yeah, it feels like he's maybe being lured back in to that team, or they're just saying, oh, you're not as good as you used to be. It's very similar to what happened last week with Alexander Wolf, when he kind of like squared up to Killian Day and he was like, look at you, you're a different man now. So maybe this leads to a big super stable or a big stable war at some point. War Games is, well, that was pretty recent, so it's probably not going to like end there, but it's very interesting. I'm excited. Let's see what happens. And after this, we had Roderick Strong making his way to the ring, and he was pissed off. And understandably so. He had his heart broken. He had his thing broken last week, so he was like, Adam Cole, come down to this ring right now. But that didn't happen. Finn Balor came down, and then they just started bickering. Because Strong was like, it's your fault that the Undisputed Era is not a thing anymore. And Balor was like, no, it's not. It's my title. My title's the reason. So I'm going to put my title up for a line against Cole next week. And that's going to be a big match, and I'm very excited. I'm not even going to take the mic. That is something I want to see. But Balor, being the weird grey tweener that he is right now, he just set up that really entertaining match, and then he started just to turn the screwdriver, really turn the screw on old Strongy Strew, and he said, well, you're always going to be a follower, you're never going to be your own man. So they started fighting, and then a match was set up in the main event between those two. I'm excited for the one next week. I'm excited for the one this week. It's all good stuff. It's getting it up. And, well, where do we even start with this? I'm going to put it all together because I just want to get it out of the way. It's getting it down. It is the Gargano therapy time. So we picked things up with the Gargano The Way family all sat in this like therapy room speaking to a therapist, and Johnny Gargano was making a lot of valid points. He was like, this guy, Austin Theory, next to me, he was abducted by this strange man who for some reason hasn't been put in prison for abducting a person. And I was like, yes, Johnny, that does make an awful lot of sense. And then as this session unfolded, Indy Hartwell just kept dropping in loads of strange innuendos that were making me feel very dirty, not in a good way, just like I need a shower and get this stuff off me. It was weird. And then Johnny Gargano did make me laugh. This was the one saving grace in all of this stuff that we're going to get into. He made me laugh because the therapist was trying to like get into his head and be all therapy, and he said, "Don't you therapy on me, I don't want to be therapied on." And I laughed a lot because I'm a child, so that's going to be an 81% on the Gargano meter. But apart from this was just, this hurt my soul in so many ways. Because Johnny soon got kicked out, and Candice LeRae did in a like segment later on, and Indy Hartwell went out as well. They were all kicked out of the room, and it was just Austin Theory, and he detailed what had happened with Dexter Lumis. He said that he was in a boarded up room watching cartoons and eating cereal. And he was like, "It was great though, I really enjoyed that," which... there are parts of that which are great, but you're in a boarded up room, man. That's not good. But this all led to the moment where the therapist then said, "Oh, I've spoke to Dexter Lumis earlier in the day. He was really talkative. We had a great conversation, and he said he couldn't stand you. He thought you're absolutely obnoxious. He didn't like the way you cut up all his t-shirts to show off your abs. You were just a weirdo, and he didn't want anything of you." And obviously this offended Austin Theory. He was like, "Oh, I can't believe you'd say that. We had such a connection. What's wrong with you?" He ran away to Johnny Gargano, and then Johnny Gargano suddenly just pulled the rug out of all of our feet. Because then Gargano revealed that he had been behind this thing all along. He gave the money to the therapist. He was like, "Thanks for saying the things that I wanted you to say." It was very elaborate. It just left me going, what? So this is going to continue. Now we're going to get more of this. Dexter Lumis is going to come back, and he's going to stare at people more. Make it stop! Seriously though, give Dexter Lumis a proper feud, because I just want to see him do kip-ups and beat people up and wear the sunglasses and the leather jacket and be the Terminator. That's what he should be. This is just too much. And then after this, Cameron Grimes was trying to turn the CWC into the CGA, that is the Cameron Grimes Auditorium. It failed, and then William Regal just had a go at him, said, "Don't hit crew members. I know that's what you did last week, so this week I'm putting you in a match with Bronson Reed." Very good. On the back of all this chaos, we then had a match between Ember Moon and Aaliyah of the Robert Stone brand, and unfortunately, it's getting her down. Now, I'm not going to knock Aaliyah for having a good go here, and Ember Moon for just being Ember Moon, because she is absolutely great, but I don't really know what we're doing here with both characters. It just felt a bit messy. Because for the most part, this just felt like a way of getting the Robert Stone brand on television and having them distract away from the actual action you wanted to see. And as you can guess, that's kind of how things went towards the end as well, because just when it looked like Ember Moon was going to get distracted by the Robert Stone brand, she made Jessica Meyer and Robert Stone look like absolute idiots, because she like kicked Kamea away, and then Shotzi Blackheart cross-bodied both of them, just like splattered them all on the floor. They were gone, they were out of the way, and then she nailed Aaliyah with an eclipse, and it was done. Again, I like both people involved. I want to see them like have more to do going forward, but Ember Moon and Shotzi Blackheart just feel like they're in the abyss right now. They're just kind of lost in the wilderness. I don't know what we're doing with them going forward. If it leads maybe to a Women's Tag Team Championship match, or maybe a turn between the two, that'd be great, but right now, not sure what we're doing with them. Aaliyah's still very green. She's not really got a massively defined character. Just being in the Robert Stone brand isn't enough, really, because it just feels like a vehicle for him. I'm not a fan of it. And after this, we then had a big video package to hype up Toni Storm against Io Shirai for the NXT Women's Championship. Next week, I am absolutely doing backflips over this match. I can't wait. I love the story that Shirai has never beaten Storm, and maybe she never will, but then we had all this like highlighting of just how good Io Shirai's title run has been up until this point, and my goodness, in my opinion, at this moment, Io Shirai is the best champion in all of WWE. Just look at the people she's beat. She's an absolute force of nature. I love her. Every time she does one of these videos, it makes me love her even more. I do hope she keeps hold of the belt. Just keep it on her for 10 more years, damn it. Moving on, we did have the moment we were all waiting for. We had this Women's Tag Team Championship match between Dakota Kai and Raquel Gonzalez and Shayna Baszler and Nia Jackson. My goodness, it wasn't just enough. It wasn't just that good. It's getting a yellow highlighter of the week up. Mwah! This is what I like out of my wrestling. Because straight away, it just had that big fight feel. I know that's a massive cliche in the land of wrestling and all the rest of it, but it did. It just felt epic when they had the stare downs at the start and the announcement. It just felt special. And it felt that little bit more special when Shayna Baszler and Nia Jax finally just were allowed to be the forces of nature that they are. Shayna Baszler was just ragdolling Dakota Kai around the place, and Nia Jax did the same. It was just like they were playing like with a sock. They just had a sock with like a ball in it, and they were going. I'm getting very carried away. But back focusing on the action, there was a lovely callback very early on where Shayna Baszler went to break Dakota Kai's arm with that like foot isolating thing that she does, but then Dakota Kai got out of the way. She was like, nope, not again. It broke my arm last time. It's not happening again. But seriously, the amount of punishment that Dakota Kai took in this match should not be legal. She was like splattered on the floor. She had her head slammed into a turnbuckle by Nia Jax at one point. I was like, Raquel, get in and save your friend. And thankfully, she finally got the message later in the match, and she came in and started like drop kicking Shayna Baszler, and she had like a set of fall away slams. That's not how you fall away slam, but my God, I was so hyped. And then we finally had the stare down, the Nia Jax, the Raquel Gonzalez, and what did he do? It was like a kaiju fight. It was like Godzilla, King Kong, bang. It was good stuff. But then things took a very, very strange turn in the closing stages, but for a change, I'm actually very excited about it and not annoyed. Because as Dakota Kai was like grappling around with Shayna Baszler, she was getting Kirifuda clutch. She looked like she was going to pass out. She didn't. She tagged in Raquel Gonzalez, who then ran for Nia Jax. She accidentally banged into the referee as well, but like knocked her off the apron, got Nia Jax and like speared her over the announce desk. And then we got back in the ring and Shayna Baszler had the Kirifuda clutch again on Dakota Kai, and it was like, what's going to happen? The ref is down. Well, I'll tell you what happened. Adam damn Pearce happened. Because he just came down to the ring, he like threw a Raw official into the ring, and then he called the match. He said, oh my God, Dakota Kai, she's passed out. Oh, I'm going to give the belts to Shayna Baszler and Nia Jax. They're the winners. But Dakota Kai was not legal. This was all not legal. So yes, it was a screwy finish technically, but both teams look really strong. I'm intrigued about what the future will hold. And then after this, later on in the night, William Regal was like, oh, I've got an announcement. He'd had like a back and forth with Adam Pearce. We couldn't see it. It was one of them weird inaudible things where it's like behind a window, but he was like, I've got an announcement next week on NXT, and it's going to change the landscape forever. And spoiler, it is not the fact that I'm an alien. We're going to save that announcement for the week after. Oh wait, stepping away from the crazy frenetic ringside action that was going down, we then had a backstage promo with Isaiah Swerve Scott. And I quite like this because he was like mixing some music backstage. His little DJ setup, who was doing his thing, he was like speaking to a girl as well. And then he turned to the camera and he was like, all right, Leon Ruff, I don't like him. He gets loads of opportunities. I want opportunities. I mean, I don't care anymore, but I still want opportunities. It was a bit of a conflicted message, but I like this DJing badass Swerve character. I want to see more of him. Moving on from Swerve Scott, we then had LA Knight making his first CWC Arena Center Performance Place appearance, and he came down to the ring and he had a lot of things to say. But before I go into it, I think it'd be rude not to do this. Here we go, LA Knight time. So he was talking about the fact that he'd waited so long to be here, but it was not his dream. This was just business. Because he was determined to beat up the likes of Johnny Gargano, Adam Cole, Finn Balor, Kyle O'Reilly. He did not care how fancy, how badass you were. He was here to do one thing and one thing only, and that is beat some ass. I like this guy. He's got a lot of charisma. He's got a lot of good energy that I'm just like, I need to see more of him. But that's precisely it. Now he's talked a good game for the last couple of weeks. I need to see more of him. I need to see a feud, which is kind of where I think we're going later in the night, but this little section, this little promo, it is getting up. Quickly segueing on the back of this promo though was Bronson Reed. He was coming down to the ring. He had his match obviously against Cameron Grimes right now, and LA Knight was like, oh, okay, just gonna come to the ring while I'm just having a bit of a chat. Fine. And then we did have that match between Bronson Reed and Cameron Grimes, and I really enjoyed it. It was good stuff. It was what you expect, but solely for the fact that we got Cameron Grimes coming down to the ring with the music, the song that we all wanted, that one that's been playing over all of his promos and his hype packages recently. Just for that alone, the match is getting up. And of course, the actual action itself was pretty damn good as well, because Cameron Grimes was like, oh, I'm going to try and bribe my way out of this match straight away, which did not work. He just got smacked in the face. But just when it looked like Cameron Grimes had squirmed his way into an advantageous situation, he was kicking the absolute hell out of Bronson Reed's chest, this seemed to fire up the colossal dude, because he like pumped his way back into things and literally swatted a kick away like it was nothing, like it was just a bird in the sky, and he went, nope, don't like birds. This all led to Cameron Grimes attempting to flee the area, understandably so. If you've seen Bronson Reed, that's a scary man. But then Bronson Reed dived through the ropes. He just dived straight onto Cameron Grimes, splattered him on the floor, peeled him off, threw him back in the ring, and then something changed. And this change came in the form of LA Knight, who came down to the ringside area, distracted Bronson Reed, who then fell off the top rope. He was going for that big tsunami splash, but he fell down. Then Cameron Grimes hit him with a cave-in. He's won the match, and it's looking like we may get LA Knight and Bronson Reed going forward. It's making me dance because, I think I'm excited for that feud. I think it's a good direction for both guys. I'm going to stop dancing and move on to the next part. After this, we had a backstage interview with Mackenzie Mitchell and Kaden Carter. They're obviously talking about the fact that Casey Catanzaro, in real life, has had a partially torn LCL, I think it is, injury in a knee. And this means she's obviously going to be out now for an unforeseen amount of time. We're not sure how long she is going to be out, but Kaden Carter was annoyed by this. She said, Xia Li, you took my friend out. I'm going to take you out next week. I don't think she is, but God loves a trier. We then had the greatest tag team match you will ever see in your entire life. If right now, just stop what you're doing, go and watch this match, Ever Rise versus Breezango, and then if you come back and ask me where this match was, it's because it didn't happen. I'm a liar. I'm sorry. Because the Legado del Fantasma just came down to the ring before these two could even get in there and start fighting. They attacked Breezango, and then they chased Ever Rise out of the ring, who were then attacked by Santos Escobar, the NXT Cruiserweight Champion. He then got into the ring and he was like, right, last week we lost against Karrion Kross. If you've seen the guy, he's absolutely insane. He's huge, he's terrifying. We lost, but don't let that make you think that we, as a group, are just walkovers. We're here to kick ass, like we just kicked these two teams' ass. Going forward, we're going to keep kicking ass. So yeah, the match that I said was there wasn't there, but this little thing in itself is getting up. And we have finally made it to our main event, and it was Finn Balor taking on Roderick Strong, but not just any Roderick Strong. This was Roderick Strong without Undisputed Era music or Undisputed Era logos or anything. It was just pure Roddy. I really enjoyed this match because it just showed Strong just trying to be his own man again, just trying to do what he did that brought him to the dance in the first place and just try and understand who he was without the Undisputed Era. But Finn Balor just really didn't care about any of that. He just put him on the floor, started stretching him, yanking at his shoulder and punching at him, just obliterating it. I was like, he's been through enough. He's been kicked in the it was too much. But thankfully, my boy Strong, he fought his way back into the match with his typical array of backbreakers and power slams. He was looking good, but then things took a turn for the worse for him. Because after a back and forth of chops from Balor and forearms from Mr. Roddy Strong, it was looking like he was going to get him up for like a fireman's carry thing. He threw him into the air, and Finn Balor came down with a double stomp, which literally felt like somebody just harpooned Roderick Strong. They just put a spear through his chest. It was graphic. And this was so heartbreaking because just before this, you'd seen Roderick Strong hit Finn Balor with like a double underhook powerbomb. It was looking like he was going to maybe roll him up. He'd done like his stronghold submission. It was looking so good for him. But as is the way with Finn Balor, you're only ever so far away from a double stomp to the chest. And before long, a coup de grace in 1916 followed. Finn Balor won the match. He held his title high. It was a non-title match in the first place, but he was still proud of being the champion. And then that son of a very offensive word came down to the ring. Adam Cole, well, he came down to the ramp anyway, stood there, just stared at Finn Balor, and he was like, haha, I've got what I wanted. I'm going to get a championship shot. But you know what? I don't think it's going to be straightforward for him, because now you've got Roderick Strong, who's very upset and very bruised and hurt right now. You've got Kyle O'Reilly, who's still nursing injuries back at home. Bobby Fish is probably just sat there going, is Undisputed Era even a thing? I don't know. I mean, that's not what Bobby Fish sounds like, but he's going to be confused. I'm confused. What is going to happen? And then you've got Karrion Kross, who wasn't really on television this week. He's got to be lurking there in the background thinking, right, now is probably a good time to absolutely batter Finn Balor whilst he's going to have a big championship match. That'll piss him off. It'll make him want a match against me at a takeover event that's not been officially confirmed yet, but it is looking like it's going to go down in April. There's so much information, and I am excited for next week. So those have been your NXT ups and downs for this week's show. Let me know what you think of them in the comments section below. If you agree, great. If you don't, not as great, but still, it's a thing. As always, don't forget to like the video, share the video, subscribe to all things WhatCulture Wrestling. Follow myself on Twitter at gmorgan04. Follow everybody here at WhatCulture Wrestling at WhatCulture WWE. Watch more wrestling stuff wherever you watch your wrestling stuff. If it's WWE, if it's that show that somehow beat us in the Wednesday Night War and moved us over to Tuesday, I'm not bitter. Simon Miller does his own thing. But if that is the case, watch that, have fun. We'll see you here this time next week. And my goodness, make sure you are here because it's looking like a hell of a show. Bye-bye.